All right, so in this example, 4x minus 12, there are two people. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write this with two blanks. Please write that down. So it looks like an owl eyes. Owl eyes. Okay. I'm then going to put a block out front, which is where I'm going to write the greatest common factor. Okay. Now here's the good news. Remember we did greatest common factor and we would line everything up, like we would do things like 2x, xy, 2, 3, x, y, y. Remember we would do this and we would bring down? We're not going to have to do that because the ones I'm going to ask you to do are very simple. And this is how it works. If I look at my example, I have a 4x and a minus 12. Do you know what the biggest number that goes into 4 and negative 12 is? Guys, what's the biggest number that goes into 4 and negative 12? Bigger than that. 4. 4. So in my greatest common factor, I'm going to write a 4. Now here's a question. I have an x here. Do I have an x in the second one? Can I take an x from both of them? Yes or no? No. So I do not have an x in my greatest common factor. I'm going to ask you this question. 4 times what, we did this before, gives me 4x? 4 times what gives me 4x? 1x. So I'm going to write a 1x here. Stop. 4 times what gives me negative 12? Negative 3. So what I did is I wrote this as 4 times x minus 3. I'm going to get out of the way so you can see it. Does that make sense? Mariah, are you good with that? Greatest common factor? Did you do this last year?
No.
Yeah.
No, we didn't. I don't know. I barely
Okay,
paid attention
enough.
last year.
Enough.
They didn't either.
Tyron,
I was on my
Tyron,
phone
enough.
last year.
All right, letter B. How many people do I have? How many terms? How many terms do I have? 2. So I want to write parentheses with 2 owl eyes. I'm going to fill the GCF in the front, greatest common factor. What is the biggest number that goes into 14 and 28?
14.
14 does, doesn't it? 14. Do I have a letter that I can take from both people? From X and Y.
Yeah.
What can I take from both of them?
Not both of them.
Not, you got to be able to take from both. Like I can take a 14 from 14. I can take a 14 from 28. So now I ask myself, 14 times what is 14x? 1x plus 14 times what is 28?
Oh my God.
2y. So the answer is 14 times x plus 2y. Are we okay with that? Yes or no? This is as hard as it is. This is it. Yeah, I skipped the top section. All right, now letter C. I call them people. They're officially called terms. How many do I have?
3.
3. So when I write my parentheses, how many lines do I need? 1, 2, 3 lines. I still will only have one block out front. What is the biggest number that goes into 25, 15, and 5?
5.
5. Do I have a letter that I can take from everybody?
Yeah.
What letter?
No.
No. I have an X, a Y, and a Z, but not all in the same term. 5 times what? 5X plus 5 times what? 3Y minus 1Z. Too fast or good? Multiply back. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times negative 1 is negative 5. This is called GCF factoring. So if you have your highlighter, which you should have in your pouch, right up here, highlight this GCF. Highlight, highlight, highlight. GCF factoring. All right. Can I erase? Are we okay?
Yeah.
All right, so big idea here. I'm going to put this above the example. So far, we have talked about having 2 terms with the GCF,
What about 5 terms?
and we have had a GCF with 3. All right, enough. Key thing, I need symbols in between my people. I need symbols. Don't just write numbers and letters. You need symbols. So when I move to the next example, example 2, which I'm going to make this a little bit bigger here, 230. Okay, take a look at example 2. What makes example 2 different is not only am I going to be able to take numbers out front, I'm
Letters.
going to take letters. So let me ask you this. How many people go on the inside?
2.
2. So I should see 1, 2. Please don't say the wrong thing on purpose. There are other people watching this that will get confused. Thank you. And I'm going to put my box out front. The box is what's going to help me visually remember I'm looking for greatest common factor. What's the biggest number that goes into 4 and 8? 4. What's the most number of letters I can take from x or x squared?
2.
I can take 2 from the first,
4. Second.
but I can only take 1, right? Kyron, do you understand only 1? How many do I have in 4x? Only 1. I have to be able to take the same amount from everybody. 4x times what gives me 4x? What do I have to multiply by? 1. 4x times what gives me 8x squared? 2x. Does that make sense? Alright, before we go on, fingers up. 3, 2, 1. Please don't give me the middle finger. 3, I get it. 2, I'm almost there. 1, I have no idea. Alright, so 3, 2, 1. Give me fingers, please. Right here. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. 3s. 3s. Your 2s. 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 Karen, you're double 0. Okay, double 0. We'll work on that tomorrow. Alright, number 2. How many lines? 2 lines on the inside. So I should see this and this. Box out front. What's the biggest number that goes into 16 and 8? 8. What's the most number of x's I can take from every person?
3. 1.
I can take 3 from the second one?
Oh, I take 2.
So it's x squared. It's the biggest number that multiplies in, and then the most number of x's I can take from every single person. 8x times what gives me 16x cubed? 8 times 2, how many x's do I need? 1x minus 8x squared times what gives me 8x squared? 1. Don't forget the 1. If you've got the line, you've got to have something on the line. Good? I love the next one because it's very easy to do. How many people do I have? How many peoples?
4.
What?
4.
2.
What? Are you serious? It's 4 letters.
Two. GCF is out front. Now, you're going to say there's 4 letters, right? Kyron? Kyron? There's 4 letters, but these are multiplied. This is one person, this is the other, separated by a plus or minus sign. What? Okay, the 1 is the number, but what's the most number of A's I can take? What's the most number of B's? 2. All right, some of you are kind of confused with. No, you're confused with the idea of.
I'm never doing this again. Don't even think about it.
The most number of A's I can take is 4. The most number of B's is 2. So what do I need to multiply this by to get A to the 4th, B to the 3rd? Just A, B. Minus. How many A's do I need for the second one?
3.
How many B's? None, right? I don't need any. I already had 2. All right, ask your questions.
Don't
Put your
get
shoes on. What don't you get? Ask instead of just throwing in the towel.
Where you getting B from? Is it not A2 from?
Okay. I have A to the 4th, B to the 3rd. I'm going to make it bigger so I can write only this. A to the 6th, B squared, right? Let's start with A's. How many A's do I have here? How many do I have here? 6. What's the most number I can take from, like, the same from this and the same from that? 4. Can I take 4 from here and 4 from here? That's where I got A to the 4th. What's the most number of B's I can take from both? I have 3 here and 2 here. Doesn't that mean I can take 2 away from both of them? That's what I got right here, 2. Then I want to figure out what I need so that when I multiply back, I have what I started with. I have 4 A's and 2 B's. I need 1 more B. I have 4 A's and 2 B's. I need 2 more A's, and I have enough B's. Like, think of going in this direction. Up. Yes? Are you? Tell me where I lost you then.
I'm losing everything. Not processing.
All right, let's do one more, and then we're gonna start the classwork.
What?
Letter D. How many people? Guys, letter D. How many terms?
Two.
2. So in my parentheses, I should see 2. Please write it down. 2. 1, 2. Out front, what is the biggest number I can take from 15 and 10? I can take 10?
5.
5.
Multiplying, not adding.
How do you get 10?
Now, what's the biggest number of x's I can take?
1x.
1x, and how about y's?
4.
Y to the 4th. Does anyone have a question about 5x, y to the 4th? No. Okay. 5 times what is 15?
3.
3. X times what is x to the 3rd? X squared. Y to the 4th to y to the 6th. How many more y's do I need?
2.
Okay. Plus 5 times what is 10?
2.
I have the x. How many y's do I need? I have none, right? I need 4. I have 4. I'm good. There's my answer. Those of you that have been breaking things down by hand like I asked you to, that's why you're able to see this very quickly. All right, I'm going to erase this a second. The next problem is letter E, correct? It is 4x to the 3rd. Don't tell me you can't see what I'm writing. I know that. I'm going to fix it in a second. Minus 8x squared plus 2x. That is the next problem we're doing, and it is the last problem we are doing. How many, in letter E, how many people do I have? Guys, in letter E, how many people or terms do I have? 3. So I'm going to be using this model up top here. So I should see on your paper 1, 2, 3 with parentheses and a box. Write it down. Write it down. Assad, wake up. Write it down. What is the biggest number that goes into 4, 8, and 2? 2. What is the most number of x's that I can take from every single person? 1x. Now, does anyone have a question why I can only take 1x away from everybody? Okay, so now let's multiply. 2x times what gives me 4?
2.
2. How many more x's do I need?
2.
2. Minus, the signs match. 2 times what gives me 8? 4. How many x's do I need? I need 2. How many did I take out? 1. So I need 1 more. Plus 2x times what is 2x? 1. Don't forget to put the 1. Fill in every one of the blanks.